Constitutional Conversations is a series of discussions by America's leading scholars about the principles, framing, ratification, and implementation of constitutional government in the United States. This series is hosted by the James Madison Memorial Fellowship Foundation of Alexandria, Virginia.
Well, we're here with Professor Akhil Reed Amar, and we're going to be discussing in this constitutional conversation for the James Madison Foundation his latest book, latest and most ambitious book, The Words That Made Us, America's Constitutional Conversation, 1760 to 1840. Let's begin with the title itself. The word that jumps out to me, or the words that made us. I'm cognizant of the cleverness of the title, too. Not only the words that made us, but the words that made you, capital S, U.S. And the nod, I presume, to Gary Wills's Pulitzer Prize-winning book, Lincoln at Gettysburg, The Words That Remade America. So you're inviting us to take a tour through the words that made America, that made us. And that's unusual in the history of nations, isn't it? That they should be made, that we should be made by words. Nations typically are made, nativity, they're birthed through blood or soil or a language family. But we were birthed through words. So please tell us a little bit about the title and where you're going with this extensive tour of the first 80 years.
The big idea of the book is that, yes, we make a constitution. We don't just sort of inherit it. It's a conscious act. It's a making. And we do it, the us, as in we, the people, and we do it through words. We do it through a conversation, a debate, the words of the document itself, and the words surrounding the document, especially the ratification project in which people speak for it, speak against it. There's an epic year-long debate in America, and before that, a long debate about whether we're going to break away from Britain or not, and if so, why. It will culminate in the Declaration of Independence. So here are the extraordinary things about America. We have a democratic constitution. Most of the world actually before this period didn't have democracy. It was a world of kings, emperors, czars, sultans, Mughal lords, tribal chieftains, thugs all. Very few places in the history of the world govern themselves. And the ones that did govern themselves often didn't have written constitutions as such, let's say Britain. And even the ones that had written constitutions didn't have a democratic constitution-making process. They were handed down from on high. Solon in Athens with the Cleisthenic Constitution. So we're adopting the Constitution democratically. We're voting on it, so it's an allusion. The us is an allusion to we, as in we the people. But it's not just that we're voting on it. We're talking about it. We're debating it up and down a continent for a year. We're doing so in newspapers. That's why it's short. It's short. I'm reaching in for my pocket copy here. Oh, I've got several, but here's one. It's short.
Well thumbed,
and I've got several, but they're all over. I'm sure I have another one in here somewhere. So here's another one. I usually have at least 2 or 3, but it's short, not so judges can make stuff up, but so ordinary people back then could read it start to finish. It could be published in a newspaper, and it was, and decide whether they were for it or against it. So yes, words in newspapers, discourse, conversation. What are the first thing people say when they read it? They say, oh, dudes, you forgot the rights, which are going to become the Bill of Rights. It's crowdsourced. People are, and here's the big point today. Americans today do not, we're an unusual nation in the world. Here's what we don't have in common, that we all descend from the same stock, what you said, blood, that we all have the same faith. So we don't have the same political ideas, quite, right, the red and blue. We're in a family, but very different politics. different races and ethnicities, different religions. Our grandparents came from different, or great-grandparents, different parts of the world. So what do we have in common as Americans? We have the words that made us.